Series from Hotlanta for race number 2 of 10 on the 2014 campaign. Once again, Evan Pasoko, Harrison Weidlitz up at a broadcast booth here at the Senior. But Harrison, coming off last week, we rolled forward into our first cookie cutter of the season.
Oh yeah, and you could consider Talladega last week, that great cautionless race, to be a bit of an appetizer. Getting into these speedway races, a bit of the meat and potatoes, so a bit of the entree, getting a taste of that right here tonight. Atlanta, track that has to be driven quite differently, and it'll be interesting to see who's able to capitalize, because it could show us who will be the guy to beat once we get 9 more races in and get to that title.
And our 15-minute open qualifying session continues to roll through, approaching the 3-minute to go mark, and E.J. O'Rourke currently sits on the provisional pole by a 1/10 of a second faster than anybody else. Right now he has a 30.083. That is the fastest lap that we have seen fastest lap we've seen all night long, beating even the fastest times in the practice session by a 1/10. E.J. O'Rourke, the number 10, is subbing for John Abbott. But we step back, take a look at last week's race. That was the Talladega Super Speedway. No cautions, clean and green, going the distance for 88 laps. In the end, Steve Ritter would take home the win, where 11 and 12 cars actually would remain on the lead lap. But we'll just take you right through the point standings, because those are directly correlating to each other. So Steve Ritter with the W sits at the top of the championship standings. He has a 5-point advantage over Adam Benefield, who sits second. Dan Murray, Matt Lacrosse going to be tied for the number 3 spot. Both those machines are 6 points out of it, and 7 back, and rounding out the top 5 is going to be Bobby Terrell, 7 back.
Yeah, Mark Bratcher and Ronnie Potts currently find themselves tied for 6th. Behind them, Cody Gibson in 8th. Brett McBride in 9th, tied with Cody Gibson, and Joe Hassard, who was looking good last week in the 11 car, is going to round out the top 10.
I mentioned one of the substitutes. We'll run you through. We have 4 in total for tonight's race. So you'll see a couple of numbers being piloted by different drivers than normal. Subbing in for the number 21 of Matt Lacrosse is going to be Nathan Little. Behind the wheel of that machine, we already mentioned E.J. O'Rourke stepping into the number 10 for John Abbott. Joey Chatina has a substitute. Driving the 06 for him tonight is going to be Scott Stenzel. Just 2 days off of his NASCAR Camping World Truck Series race. He'll be in the number 06 machine, sorry. And then the 4th and final substitute, Keith Bouchard, will be piloting the 58 in substitute for Justin Wilson. But the Atlanta Motor Speedway is 1.54 miles in length, so not quite a mile and a half, a little bit more, banking at 24 degrees, 5 on the straightaways. But this racetrack is very fast. Obviously, you can tell by the lap times that these guys are running, but you have to drive it very uniquely. And I know, Harrison, you were talking about it there not too long ago, but the weather is going to be partly cloudy, 78 Fahrenheit, winds to the north at 2 miles an hour, relative humidity at 55%. So nothing real crazy in that regards, but I mean, what kind of race are we expecting to see here tonight? It's going to be 130 laps. That is going to equal exactly 200 miles until we get that checkered flag.
Yeah, with these cars being so momentum-based, with there not being a heck of a lot of power at the rear wheels compared to the Cup cars anyway, it'll be interesting, because you want to keep the engine wound up. A lot of guys will be able to roll the high side pretty well. The fastest groove on the track will be on the bottom. However, passing on the bottom should be difficult, because a guy on the top side pinch the guy on the bottom down a little bit. You never know. So it'll be interesting to see the entrance to these corners, because the guy in the bottom will probably try to get as wide of an arc as he can, and could lead to some interesting racing.
Well, we're going to step away now, go down trackside for opening ceremonies, and when we come back, we'll set the grid and get set for 130 laps of green flag racing. Qualifying has come to a close, and tonight's 25-car field is set to take the green flag, so we're going to run you down through the starting order. It is E.J. O'Rourke. He will maintain that #1 position on pole. Again, a 10th quicker than the closest competitor at 30.083 at the top of the board. Adam Benefield going to be starting in the #2 spot. Dwayne Vincent in 3rd. Dan Murray going to take 4th. That's the outside of row #2. Steve Ritter rounding out the top 5 inside of row 3 in the #5 spot. Scott Stenzel, the 06, starts in position #6. Rhett McBride, the #7 machine, rather the #2, starting in position #7. Bobby Terrell alongside him, the 14 Muscle Milk Chevrolet in 8th. Jonathan Cadell's going to start 9th, and Cody Gibson rounding out the top 10.
Starting 11th will be the 99, Mitch Rollo. Outside of him, 31, Eric Arnold. Starting 13th will be the 88 of Kyle Tarasco, making his first start of the season. Outside of him, Scott Simley in the #4. Starting 15th will be the 21 of Nathan Little, subbing for Matt Lacrosse. Outside of him, Keith Bouchard, #58. Starting 17th will be Ronnie Potts in the #6. 18th, the 67 of Brian Harvey. Starting 19th will be the 41 of Corbin Himstreet. He was fastest in practice. Starting 20th, the #29 of Kevin Gosser.
Damie Moore will start 21st. Kevin Linden 22nd. Joe Hassert will take up position #23. Sherry Ann Mills 24th. The last car to put down a time in qualifying, and that is it. 24 cars have made the grid out of the 25 that are scheduled. So we are set once again, 130 laps under the Georgia sun. It is going to be E.J. O'Rourke subbing for John Abbott in control. Pace car dives down to pit road. The 10 is the control car. He can go when he pleases. Just a moment before the green flag flies, and he is off. Now we're green. The 85 of Adam Benefield, not the best start in the world. Can open up the door. Can Vincent get to the bottom? No, looks like he'll duck in line. First side-by-side battle is going to be 6th on back.
Yeah, a good start for E.J. O'Rourke, who picked up about a 10th of a second from practice to qualifying. E.J. is a great qualifier, as he actually runs low on the back stretch trying to break that draft with the #10 car. Unfortunately, don't think he's going to be able to do that, as the 85 of Benefield just drives it into turn #3 with Dave Vincent behind him, Dan Murray behind him. So guys looking to come up to the #10 of E.J. O'Rourke right from the get-go.
The first side-by-side battle is going to involve the 99 of Mitch Rollo on the bottom. He was trying to get up on the 8 of Cody Gibson. Gibson is clear into 1 and now off of 2. The 99 will slide a 9-0. The 31, Eric Arnold, sideways off the corner. That opens up the door. The 88 Tarascus through. And now caution, trouble towards the tail end of the field. It is the 82 of Jamie Moore. Caution out.
Yeah, it looks like that was a chain reaction, actually. It looks like someone else had a little bit of trouble, bounced off the wall and caught the 82. We'll get that replay for you in just a second. But the number 41, that was Corbin Himstreet. I just moments ago mentioned that he was the fastest car in practice. Unfortunately, gets loose out of turn number 2 and corrects, ends up in the wall, coming back down the track. That's how the 82 gets sent to the inside wall.
And it looked like he might have had a little bit of contact. He was going in and just had a nose on the 67 of Brian Harvey. And Harvey pushed up a little bit, might have been a little bit of net code over the 41, just reacting to seeing that movement, but kind of stepped up the hill, caught the fence, tried to save it, ended up in the outside wall. And it was, again, the 82 of Jamie Moore who ends up spinning down to the inside, but we do believe the cause of the caution will go to the 41 of Himstreet because he was sideways in the middle of the back straightaway. So we are quickly under our first caution flag of the evening. E.J. O'Rourke is still able to hang on to the number 1 position. He sits up there right now, Benefield Vincent. So no changes inside the top 3. A new face that we have seen up there, Dan Murray, who sits in position number 4, started in 8th. So that number 5 machine was really up on it there that first lap because he was able to pick up 4 positions. He'll come up to this next restart. He'll be taking up the number 4 spot, the outside of that number 2 row.
Yeah, Dan Murray's a guy I look to who's successful with pretty much anything he drives. However, I look at him and I look at what can be a pretty tight fixed setup. All these drivers running the same setup. Dan Murray knows how to adjust to that, and he's always really competitive. So when we see some green flag racing here as we get going into the rhythm of this race, I really expect Murray to be able to manage his tires extremely well. Of course, he's going to have some competition up there with Stenzel, Vincent, Benefield, and E.J. O'Rourke all making up the top 5. And E.J. O'Rourke, really good qualifier. I think something that's in his head is he wants to capitalize on that and take home the victory because a lot of time he's joked in the past about his qualifying ability and then tendency to fade just a little bit in the race, lose a couple of spots and settle into maybe a 5th or so. But looking to not have that happen tonight. E.J. looking to lead all the way.
Well, we do have our first car behind the wall and done. Jamie Moore, again, after collecting the inside wall there, down the back straightaway to bring out the first yellow. The 82 machine, an innocent bystander, the way it tends to be oh so many times at these racetracks where the cars that initiate the contact intentionally, or obviously in this case not intentionally, are able to get off with the least amount of damage. And Jamie Moore, who had a pretty good lick there down on the inside fence. He has taken it behind the wall. His night is done. He has retired, and he will finish in position number 24. Corbin Himstreet, the 41, who had those troubles coming out of turn number 2, has been deemed the cause of the caution. So he's down pit road for service because he has been given the end of the longest line penalty. So he will be restarting this race in 23rd. Way at the back behind this big pack of cars. You were talking about E.J. O'Rourke not only wanting to get that victory for himself, but I'm sure John Abbott, the regular pilot of the number 10 machine, would not object to that at all. That Gary Mercer Trucking Chevrolet is P1. Again, this is the Real Sim Racing Asphalt Assault TV series and some great partners that help us get on the air here. Inside Sim Racing TV. You can go to ISRTV.com or InsideSimRacing.tv. Check them out, as well as Derek Spear Designs. Both of those companies going to be bringing prizes forth when it comes down to championship time. But we get set for a second restart of the night. E.J. O'Rourke once again in control. He hesitated about 2 seconds last time. Does he mix it up this time? Field closes in at the restart box. Now the 10 is on it. Green flag flies. And this time, Dwayne Vincent looks like he's going to be able to get a nose in there. Going to try to make it side by side for a second. Can he hold that down into the corner? Benefield works the top.
Yeah, maybe his best chance to get that second position, because he's not going to get tight as they're getting up to speed. But Dan Murray in the 5 right up behind the 85 of Benefield. E.J. O'Rourke moves down the backstretch, doing a little snake trying to break that draft, but 85 of Benefield able to clear Vincent, move into second place, and now they're side by side for third with Murray and Vincent.
Dan Murray gets real close there, a little bit of a bobble out of the corner and nearly caught the right rear of Dwayne Vincent, but everybody's able to hang on to it. Vincent not quite clear, and now the 5 slides in line as they go down into the corner. Dan Murray is a solid driver that if you've seen on Monday nights on the Cup side of things, has yet to find victory lane, but has solid runs, and as we say that behind them, 3 wide for a moment, the 2's on the inside, Rhett McBride's going to back out of it, the 16 on the high side dives down and clear of the 06. That was Steve Ritter making that move, and now Stenzel slides out wide, and it's a 2 of Rhett McBride trying to capitalize. That's going to be for P6 at the stripe.
Yeah, and actually, Ritter's a guy to watch, because if my memory serves me correctly, I believe he won a couple of races on 1.5 milers in the Full Throttle Cup Series last season, including Chicago to start out the chase. That is, if my memory isn't failing me. I'm pretty sure that I have that correct, but Steve Ritter's going to be one to watch. Obviously, another 1.5 mile track here tonight. Very different from Chicago, but Ritter pretty much competitive wherever we go. In fact, he mentioned in Victory Lane last week that Talladega probably his weakest link, and he was able to come out of there with the win. And so, looks good for Ritter so far.
The next battle is going to be for the #1 position. Adam Benefield to the bottom, trying to make a move, and got door-to-door. Now the 10 pulls some ground down the back straightaway, utilizing that run that he gets out of corner number 2. He'll push that 85 all the way down, squeeze Adam Benefield, not giving him a lot of room, and it will work just as planned. E.J. O'Rourke, by doing so, was able to hang on to the #1 spot, and Benefield will slide back about 1 car length until he can regroup and try to make another move back now through 1 and 2. The 9 of Dwayne Vincent had a run on him and could have made it 3 wide, thought better of it. His Napa Chevrolet is just kind of hung out there. He's sitting in the wings right now watching that battle up front. He sits third, about a car length off, just watching things develop in front of him as that 85 of Benefield tries to close in once again. He's going to get to the bumper of O'Rourke, this time at a 4, and he'll think about making another move. Right now he stays at the bumper to the bottom, going to try to make it side by side into 1.
Yeah, and last time they were side by side, it was a perfect example of what you battle with this car. Very tight center off, as you see the 85 of Benefield get tight right there. They remain side by side. O'Rourke does not get the run that he did last time off the corner, and the 85 is still there. But what you do when you're on the inside there, try to get as wide of an arc as you can. Cut to the bottom. 3 and 4 doesn't really need as much of an arc, but turn 1, you'll see Benefield enter as high as he can to not lose that momentum in the center as they remain side by side a lap into this battle.
If that was the end, it would have gone to E.J. O'Rourke, and now a little bit of contact as the 85 gets into the left side door of O'Rourke Chevrolet. Both of them are able to hang on, but now it is Benefield with half a car length advantage on the bottom. Vincent gets to his bumper, gives him a little bit of nudge down into corner number 3. Can Benefield get clear? He'll want to try to slide up in front of E.J. O'Rourke. Does he do it? Yes, he does. Out of the corner, slides down to block, and defending that position with a defensive move, Adam Benefield with a slide job off of corner number 4, you could say, and blocks that 10 of O'Rourke all the way down the front straightaway, kills his momentum, and now off of 2, it is the 85, half a car length to the good. This battle far from over, but for a moment, Adam Benefield has put his number 85 Chevy up in the #1 spot. Dwayne Vincent still in 3rd, Dan Murray 4th, Steve Ritter 5th, and a lot of single-file bumper-to-bumper traffic pretty much throughout the entire field. A close call back in position number 14. That's a side-by-side battle. The 99 of Mitch Rollo is there. He's on the inside of the 31, but the 21 of Nathan Little nearly caught the fence that last time through corner number 4, and he was actually at the front of that 2-car battle, so he slides back a little bit as that battle rages on back in the pack.
Yeah, Mitch Rollo, that 99 Jags Camaro. If there's anything I've learned in the few races I've seen of him, he's an entertaining driver to watch, whether he's running up there for the win or working his way through the field. It seems like he's always having a pretty competitive battle, a spirited battle, if you will. But Rollo right now shown in the 14th position, looking through the field. Everyone pretty single file right now. And as I was alluding to before with the 85 trying to get past the 10 of O'Rourke for the lead, exactly what he needed to do was enter as wide as you saw him in turn 1, resulted in possibly a little bit of contact. We saw that puff of smoke sometimes indicative of net code, but I think a little bit of contact there. And that's what you got to do. You see just how high these guys enter turn 1 and cut to the bottom, center off. Otherwise, just to get that tightness out of the car, you just enter that high, back off, and cut to the bottom. 3 and 4 more towards the bottom, but still a little bit of an arc. But that's the difficulty of passing here, and Adam worked it to the book.
And again, that 10 of O'Rourke had a little bit of a run off the corner, took the nose out to the inside, 85 stepped down a lane, and then O'Rourke went back to the high side. The 85 went right back up there to make his arc down into the corner. So by making that defensive move, that little bit of a block down the front straightaway, not only was he able to keep that 10 machine off of, or prevent him from getting back to the inside, back into corner number 1, like Adam had made the pass himself, he also killed that 10's momentum a little bit. You mentioned these cars very momentum based in order to be successful, and he was able to pull a car like this up to about 1.5, but that 10 machine was flying out of corner number 4. Back end stepped out sideways. He'll pick up some time and closes it into a car length into 1. But now the top 3 start to pull away. Vincent again still just hanging out in that number 3 position. He's 3 tenths back from Benefiel, but these leaders are a couple tenths to the good from 4th on back as they try to mount a little bit of a charge as they remain single file as they have been for the last few laps, trying to put some time on the rest of the field. But it looks like Adam Benefiel is enjoying that clean air. How about the 88 of Kyle Tarasca right now, riding in position number 8 after starting in 13th. I know we talked about him a little bit. He was in a battle before that first yellow flew. He's moved up a couple of spots. However, he does have company. Looks like the 14 of Terrell is closing in. And now the 06 is slow out of 2. That's Scott Stenzel. So that is going to be side-by-side for P7.
Yeah, Kyle Tarasca, always someone to look out for. Pretty difficult to pass, and as you just said, has already worked his way to 8th, so getting 5 spots, working on spot number 6. Going to have to get a nice run through 1 and 2 here with Bobby Terrell. Just kind of being methodical. If there's anything I've learned watching Bobby Terrell, it's just how smart he is, how composed he is. You know, he's not full go 100% of the time, and for that he usually ends up in contention for the title, as now he works his way underneath the 06 of Stenzel, trying to follow Tarasca, who was able to complete that pass. But for now, Terrell remains side by side with Stenzel, as Stenzel gets a nice run out of turn number 4.
Yeah, the 06 of Scott Stenzel got to the back bumper of Tarasca at corner number 2, and those two Chevrolets are teammates. So as opposed to stepping out to the inside, Stenzel just stayed in line. That's what opened up the door for Bobby Terrell. Bobby Terrell obviously in his synonymous muscle milk machine, and actually now caution going to fly on the racetrack, trouble towards the back of the pack, and it is one machine out in the outside wall. It is going to be the 29 of Kevin Gosser from position number 14. He's going to go around, and as we get that queued up on the replay, it looks like he had a little bit of help, as that was at a corner number 2. The 67 on the bottom, Brian Harvey slides up just a little bit, and it appeared to be a little bit of net code, prediction code, because there was a couple of feet there, and I don't think Brian Harvey was expecting the 29 to go around, because they had a couple feet to the good on that left rear, but they made it close at a corner number 2. The prediction code is going to bite the 29, that's what we'll call it, and Kevin Gosser going to go around the West Coast Chevrolet with some pretty severe damage as we return to our second caution of the race.
Yeah, Brian Harvey, definitely, as you said, prediction code a huge factor here. He also, the 67 on the bottom, wasn't able to get to the bottom through the center of 1 and 2 and was sliding up a bit prematurely. And so it was tight quarters there out of turn number 2. They should have been okay, but you know what? That's just the way it goes sometimes with this net code. And so tough break for the 29, who, you know, just a few laps ago I saw he was involved in a pretty heavy battle for 11th or 12th place. They were racing hard back there, and unfortunately you can't get away with much damage here at Atlanta, so it's going to be a long race for him. A lot of left side damage, a lot of rear end damage.
Well, now we head to pit lane. All leaders down, it appears, and we're going to have to see E.J. O'Rourke enter second to Adam Benefiel. He does have that number 1 stall on pit road from qualifying on pole. Can he use that to his advantage? Off the 85 is going to go a straight shoot out, and it will be Benefiel that leads them out. This pit road is not as good as some others as far as favoring that number 1 pit stall, because you got to go quite a ways to get to that line. But we were 4 wide nearly for the number 3 spot at a pit road. That made it interesting. So O'Rourke actually exits third. Steve Ritter going to enter 5th. He'll exit 2nd to Adam Benefiel as Benefiel continues to lead. And it's a 13.7 for Steve Ritter that'll gain him those handful of spots.
And as you saw, the 10 of O'Rourke, when he exited his pit stall, he was full go for a moment, realized that he had nothing for the 85 as far as beating him to the pit exit cone. Realized that he'd rather restart the race in 3rd than 2nd, got on the brakes. Dwayne Vincent taking note of that, almost running into the back of O'Rourke on pit exit. But EJ's strategy worked out because Steve Ritter drove on by. Steve Ritter's going to be the guy hung out on the outside of the front row in 2nd. And that's a strategy you see at some of these tracks here. Sometimes it's a lot better to be 3rd than 2nd, and that's exactly what EJ did right there.
And that takes some quick thinking. You have to know what's going on around you. Maybe some help from a spotter influencing that decision. But O'Rourke did stay to the left, got on the brakes just before the line, made sure Ritter was through and clear and got back out. And it was very close to biting him because, again, he ended up being in a 4 wide at the stripe there, the scoring loop at a pit road. That would dictate where they were, but it does work out. O'Rourke will restart in 3rd. The other machine that we have seen utilize that number 3 position has been Dwayne Vincent. After starting in 3rd, he had to wait till the 2nd restart till he made a decent battle with Adam Benefiel for that number 2 spot by utilizing starting in that 3rd spot. And it's helpful because, again, this is leader's control. This is going to be the first restart that we're going to see with Adam Benefiel up front as opposed to EJ O'Rourke. But essentially that means when the pace car hits pit road, you have from that point till the sim actually throwing the green flag at the end of the restart box on the racetrack to go. So the leader really has a lot of choices and a lot of, he can do what he wants to do. He can mix it up. Now O'Rourke kind of stayed with his plan, and that guy behind him is going to be able to ride that bumper and get going. If you're starting 2nd, you're going to have to be looking out the window net, trying to make sure you're still pointed the right direction. You can't be in front of that car on the inside lane. It's a lot more work, so we're going to have to see if it does pay due dividends for O'Rourke. He'll be restarting again in 3rd. Dan Murray being scored in position number 4. However, we'll have to see how that cycles through, but we're going to go side by side when we go to this restart, as the lights have been extinguished on the pace car. Field works on getting doubled up through the corner. It looks like maybe the 2 of Rhett McBride will be up there. A little bit of confusion in 1 and 2 as the drivers try to get everything sorted out and we get set for this restart.
Yeah, just a quick note, the number 88 of Kyle Tarasco, who we saw drive up to 7th from the 13th starting position, just didn't quite know what the speed limit was. He thought he knew, but he guessed wrong. So just a kind of what he's calling a foolish mistake on his part. Kyle Tarasco starting from the rear here in 22nd position, I believe, and so he's going to have a lot of cars to pass now.
Well, this is his first start of the season, so yeah, he was flying at a pit road, and he must have looked over and thought, man, these guys are missing something. So maybe he was trying to make up for missing Talladega, but the 55 miles an hour works there, not here. So we'll have to see how he can work his way back up to the field. Still a long time till we get the checkered flag. Pace car lights are off, getting set to take the sharp left-hand turn down to the safety of pit road. There he goes. Benefiel off right away. He is gone, and Steve Ritter is going to be able to jump into the number 2 spot. O'Rourke is going to have to battle to hang on to 3rd. It is the 2 of Rhett McBride on the outside into 1.
Yeah, that strategy actually did not work out for EJ, as Steve Ritter with a great restart, but EJ able to tuck back into 3rd. Rhett McBride will be in 4th, as Benefiel with a great restart. That's the beauty with being the leader. That's the advantage you have. You go, you determine when the rest of the field responds to you. With that restart box literally being when the pace car turns until the green flag is waved. And so Benefiel jumps out to an early lead, but you see just how much the draft has an effect here, as a 16 of Ritter just reeling him in down the straightaway and throws it into turn number 1. And that huge advantage he had a lap ago, just about 2.5 car lengths now.
We got 2 cars sideways off of corner number 2, the 5 and the 31. That's Dan Murray and Eric Arnold. Both of those cars were in a side-by-side battle and were both on the bottom. And those rear ends really stepped out, and they whacked them all the way up to the fence there at a corner number 2. Were able to hang on to him, but the 5 of Murray loses his battle. He'll slide in line behind McBride. That was a battle for 4th. Eric Arnold has continued to stay after it. He's side by side with Scott Stenzel. Stenzel up the hill there in 1 and 2. 31 will slide through and clear. So that position single files out, and for a moment, everybody inside the top 12 single file, side by side for 13th position. The 11 of Joe Hasser to the bottom, through, and he is clear. He passes the 21 of Nathan Little out of quarter number 4.
Yeah, Joe Hasser wasn't looking too quick on the qualifying chart or the practice chart, but a smart driver working his way forward right now, running just about in the middle of the field. As just in front of him, some side-by-side battles. Actually, the 99 of Mitch Rollo really loose. The 99 car has some rear-end damage and some right-side damage that he got not too long ago as he catches the safer barrier entering turn number 3. Easy mistake to make, as foolish as it looks. That safer barrier just sticks out, and that 99 of Rollo really suffering some damage, and he's going to throw it down pit road, speeding on entry. He might be parking that race car.
Keep going, my screen just went blank.
As Mitch Rollo does park his race car, he is taken into the garage after I believe he sustained some damage coming onto pit road. Someone ran into the back of him a few laps ago, and that car just never able to recover. But up front, there's a battle for third right now. The number 2 of Rhett McBride working his way underneath the 16 of Steve Ritter. E.J. O'Rourke able to get back into second. Now the battle's on for third as McBride takes a bit of a shallow entry entering turn number 1. Ritter able to carry that momentum on the high side. Dan Murray likes the way that high side looks. That 5 car jumps to the outside of the 2 of McBride with the 31 of Eric Arnold behind him. So Murray trying to get that high side to work in 3 and 4, but he drifts a little bit too high, loses some of that speed in the center of the corner, tries to keep his nose to the outside of McBride, but he's just barely there right now. Going to bomb it into turn number 1 here to try to stay with him, but Rhett arcs it just wide enough. I believe he's going to clear the 5 here on exit. Is McBride able to tuck back into 4th as Dan Murray will be in 5th, as the side-by-side battle right now is for position number 7, the number 06 of Scott Stenzel, trying to stay ahead of the number 14 of Bobby Terrell. Terrell, I'm not sure if it's possibly my trading paints, but usually in a Muscle Milk Camaro, I actually see a blank car. That might be my end, but Bobby Terrell's synonymous with Muscle Milk at this stage of the game. As actually that is my mistake on that. But the number 31 of Arnold going backwards right now, but will he go for the crossover as Stenzel gets really tight in front of him? The 31 ducks below as Terrell just watching this battle right now from 7th, just taking it easy, and might not be such a bold prediction, but I predict the longer we go green, the farther up front we'll see Bobby Terrell as they continue to battle side by side. Stenzel working the outside, Arnold working the bottom. Arnold's not looking quite as smooth as Stenzel is, but takes that wide arc entering turn number 3. Stenzel has to react to that, counter his steering, runs a little bit higher than he meant to, but gets a decent run off of turn number 4. And this is going to be where the battle's going to be won or lost, is turn number 1. Stenzel able to just clear him and shoots it down into the corner, and but carries the middle as the 31 works the bottom. Number two of Rhett McBride trying to find a way around the number 16 of Steve Ritter. Ritter maintaining that 3rd position as McBride looking pretty quick. And, you know, Rhett's a guy that kind of sneaks his way up there and really contends for some of these wins. He's got a few racetracks that he's really good at, and Atlanta might just be one of them, as he looks quite a bit faster than Ritter right now, not able to find a way around him. And this is one of the most frustrating things as a driver, because you see that number 5 Murray finds his way underneath the 2 of McBride. And that's just a scenario where you can go backwards fast just by virtue of being stuck behind somebody. As McBride just being held up by Ritter a little bit, Murray takes advantage of that. And now what he's hoping is that Dan Murray will be able to get underneath the 16 and open up that hole for him to follow on through. But up front, Adam Benefield continues to lead. E.J. O'Rourke, our pole sitter, in 2nd, pretty much mirroring our leaders' lap times, as those two have put about 3 or 4 tenths on the 3rd place car of Steve Ritter. And looking through this field, Kyle Tarasca, the number 88, an update on him. He's working his way underneath the number 11 of Joe Hassert right now. That's the battle for 12th. And so Tarasca, after that speeding penalty, had to come from about 22nd up to 12th. That is 10 positions in a matter of 3 or 4 laps. Actually, that is quite more than 3 or 4 laps. He's got up 10 positions, about 10 laps, 1 position a lap. But he's got quite a distance now to get to position number 11. So Tarasca, when you're in that position, what you want is to go about a certain amount of laps that you can get to a good position, catch that yellow to where you get that distance back that you lost by virtue of coming from the back. But Tarasca, really fast car, would not be surprised to see him competing for the win. As up front, the battle heats up for third once again. The number 5 of Dan Murray working his way underneath Ritter, but Ritter able to manage that high line really well, and that puts Brett McBride, the number 2, back behind the 5 of Murray. Looking low, McBride is on Murray, but Murray will close the door entering turn number 3. Role reversal from just a couple of laps ago when Murray was able to get that number 4 position from McBride. And they retain their positions just now, and it just shows you how difficult it is to pass here. Now McBride under attack by the number 06 of Stenzel. And that's a bit of the pack racing for you, which is you have to lift just a little bit for the guy in front of you. It really leaves you vulnerable to the guy behind you. And now McBride goes for the crossover, working underneath the 06 of Stenzel. All these drivers running pretty similar times, which is why you see so much jockeying as they just try to get what they can, track position being so paramount. But Stenzel able to fight off McBride, get position number 5. And these drivers actually have, they put a gap on Bobby Terrell, about 7 or 8 tenths. Terrell fighting his race car a little bit right now, not quite able to keep up. As up front, Benefield continues to lead, but E.J. O'Rourke has been putting together a number of good laps in a row here. EJ just knocking off a couple of hundredths every lap, about 3 or 4 hundredths for the last couple of laps, and so EJ has his sights set on that lead once again. Our pole sitter lost it early on, but he is working his way toward, actually, as the 85 gets a great run out of turn number 2. But EJ's looking good right now.
Yeah, the top 2 have pulled away by about 9/10 of a second, so third on back, over a second out of it. That is Steve Ritter from 3rd position. He has Dan Murray with him. Just a battle that kind of simmered down moments ago. The 06 of Scott Stenzel had company. The 2 of Brett McBride was on his outside and was unable to do anything with it, so slides back in line. The GT Omega Chevrolet of McBride rides around P8, but we're bumper to bumper from 3rd on back. Dan Murray is there and Stenzel is there on Murray, so somebody could be trying to make a move here soon, but right now they ride single file. Looks like that 16 gets real close to the apron. Those left side tires down on that white paint there in 3 and 4.
Yeah, Steve Ritter's been doing a good job of holding on to that 3rd position. Certainly a lot of people have been going for it. It just shows how hard it is to pass. Those 3 behind him and Ritter all running pretty much equal lap times. No one able to get away from each other, as they're just hoping for a mistake from Ritter. That might not be as big as a mistake as Murray needs to complete this pass, but a little bit of a momentum shift here as Murray just really works that bottom, slides up, a little bit of contact. Murray goes down into the infield, spinning out. We're going to have a caution for this, I do believe.
He's able to hang on to it, and the caution flag will stay tucked away as Dan Murray, in that heated side-by-side battle, had the 16 get sideways, and it was the 5 that got knocked down to the apron. Replays going up now. The 16 of Ritter was also able to hang on to it, but both those machines going to lose significant time. Steve Ritter dropping back to 12th position as Kyle Tarasca gets on by and clear of him. And then Dan Murray finds himself back side by side with the 77 of Sherry Ann Mills. That would be the battle for the last position on the lead lap, position number 20. Adam Benefield continues to lead. It's 1.5 car lengths out front as our leaders work lap 47 of 130. You're watching the Real Sim Racing Asphalt Assault TV series presented by InsideSimRacing. InsideSimRacing TV and Derek Spear Designs. Gonna step away for a moment, take a quick commercial break. When we come back, more from the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Back live at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, clean and green still as we work lap number 56 as Adam Benefield crosses the stripe to take that lap. He remains in the number 1 position. It is E.J. O'Rourke now in the number 2 spot. However, 6/10 is the gap now. Before we stepped away, that was a lot closer than that. They were battling pretty hard up front. It is now 6/10 of a second between the top two, and Rhett McBride, third on back, has now faded to 2.6 plus out of that lead battle. So right now, Adam Benefield smooth sailing after starting in the number 2 position. He rides out front in some clean air, as it is 20 machines that remain on the lead lap at this point. Last car on the lead lap, the number 77 Ford, that is Sherry Ann Mills, about 19 seconds off, so still about 12 seconds to the good until she would have to worry about Adam Benefield starting to close in on her to take that lap away.
Yeah, and looking at these lap times, Benefield right now managed his tires really well. Probably was driving the car just as hard as he had to, which is one of the advantages you have in the lead. As E.J. O'Rourke right now falling to about 7/10 off the lead, as our top 5 cars all running pretty similar times. Bobby Terrell's pace has picked up the longer we've gone, as Terrell up to 4th after that collision we saw coming out of turn number 4 between Ritter and Murray, among Stenzel also almost got collected in that, but Stenzel able to make it through that and is currently shown in 5th. But Sherry Ann Mills, last car in the lead lap, currently shown in 20th, about 9/10 of a second slower than Adam Benefield up front.
There's a couple of cars that have some wounded sheet metal on the front of them, and they're running pretty close together. The 21 of Nathan Little with Hugh Pike on his Chevrolet Impala rides 15th, and then Corbin Hemstreet behind him in 16th. Both those machines have some damage, and actually Nathan Little just now popping off of the racetrack. Don't currently see him. Not sure where he went. Having a little bit of connection there issues. But Nathan Little, who was 15th, has disappeared for a moment. That's one of the things they have to account for in sim racing. In real life, you're going to have the mechanical gremlins. In iRacing, then there's those issues with the computer. You're connected to a server. And bad news for that 21 camp, because Nathan Little has not come back on a racetrack. And he may be dropping out of the server here soon. He's lost his spot, so I guess that's good for the 41 of Hemstreet, who was right behind him. That Boomtown Sim Chevrolet, who was up front earlier in the going, has cycled back up. He's now P15, but that is one of the machines that we were talking about with some pretty heavy right side and then also nose damage on that. That is from that earlier incident.
Yeah, and I went back and looked at the number 21, as I do believe you're right, and he is dropping out of the server. Currently showing a lap down, not coming back. So waiting for him to drop out. But the 21 of Nathan Little, and he didn't get all that damage in one spot. Looks like he accumulated it throughout the run. As we got more and more laps on the tires, it looks like he just got tighter and tighter and hit the wall a couple times out of turn number 2. Really did a number on that sheet metal. As we have a change for the 3rd position, Bobby Terrell in the number 14 just got by the number 2 of Rhett McBride. So Terrell, the longer we go, the better he looks. He's up to the 3rd position, and right now faster than the leader by about half a tenth.
We are hearing that our first machine that is going to come down pit road, we believe it is Steve Ritter over the radio. He ducks down to the apron, and he is going to come down to start our cycle of green flag pit stops. Steve Ritter in from position number 10. The number 16 is in for service. That is another one of the cars that has some front end and also some left side damage on his number 16 Amsoil Chevrolet, but he's going to come down for service, and he'll obviously lose his lap in the process of doing so, but he's going to get these green flag pit stops kicked off at lap number 64.
Yeah, and Ritter was at a vulnerable position after that contact coming out of turn number 4 with Dan Murray, and so sometimes short pitting really pays. He can fix some of that damage, get some new tires, just get that thing going as best as it can. As a 17-second pit stop for Steve Ritter, as he's on his way on the axis, or on the apron right now, coming back onto the track. But I think most of these guys are going to stay out as long as they can, but the people who are kind of drifting back right now will be more likely to come down pit road quicker. They have simply less to lose, and so try to get some new tires sooner and take advantage of them, make up some of that lost time that they lost in the last couple of laps.
Steve Ritter, the last time by, scoring showing him that he is the first car off the lead lap. Now it cycles through. That is going to go to the 31 of Eric Arnold. His machine is also torn up. He came down for a stop about 5 laps ago, so that's why Arnold is down 1. Steve Ritter also came down, so he's down a lap. And Dwayne Vincent, the number 9 machine, finds himself 3 laps out of it. Again, after having a solid start to the race, he's down and having some rear end and a little bit of front end damage too on his Chevrolet. So right now it is 17 cars on the lead lap. Have not seen any other leaders come in yet, at least towards the front of the pack, but race control reminding these drivers, both lead and lap cars, to communicate with each other on when people are going to be heading to pit lane, because you're going to be starting to slow that thing down in 3 and 4 before you can really get down to the apron.
Yeah, absolutely. And as these tires wear, the harder it is to get down to pit road speed. And what I've noticed here with the fall off is as the nationwide car that we're watching this evening has gone through some tire changes recently. And it used to be that you would have most of your fall off early on, and then the car would somewhat stabilize for most of these racetracks. However, tonight, the fall off has been pretty linear. Every 5 laps or so, it drops off another tenth. And so these leaders right now are running about 30 90s, even 31 flats. Our fastest guys on the track right now able to run in the 30 80s. The last lap, Bobby Terrell in third went a 30.86, and the rest of the field not quite as lucky. Most of the field, in fact, 31 seconds or slower, who have not come down pit road yet. And so that just goes to show just how beneficial short pitting can be, because those drivers have about 9/10 of a second right when they come out of pit road.
So Adam Benefield down the back straightaway, currently working in lap number 69. This time by he'll take 70, so we are through and past the halfway point. So as we have a brief moment before the rest of the leaders begin to cycle down for green flag pit stops, going to give you a quick full field rundown presented by InsideSimRacing TV. It is Adam Benefield right now sitting P1, EJ O'Rourke in second, Bobby Terrell third, Rhett McBride is in fourth, Jonathan Cadell in fifth, Scott Stenzel sixth, Kyle Taraska seventh, Kevin Linden eighth, Ronnie Potts ninth, and Corbin Himstreet rounding up the top 10 just as he puts a pass on Scott Simley.
Yeah, running 11th right now is Scott Simley, who you just said got passed by Himstreet. 12th right now is Brian Harvey. 13th is the number 5 of Dan Murray after sliding through the infield grass. He is still not yet to come down pit road, showing in 13th. Position number 14, Joe Hassert. Behind him is the 58 of Keith Bouchard, who's got a little bit of damage on his car himself. In 16th right now is the number 77 of Sherry Ann Mills. Last car running on the lead lap, still yet to come to pit road. And 17th is Eric Arnold, who has pit in the number 31, followed by the number 16 of Steve Ritter, who we saw come down pit road as well. Running 19th is the number 8 of Cody Gibson, who I just saw a few seconds ago made contact with Stenzel as he was making use of his new tires. And rounding out the top 20 right now is the number 9 of Dwayne Vincent.
4 more cars in tonight's race. 21st position is a 21 and 8th and little. He sits 6 laps down. Kevin Gosser out of the action. He'll finish 22nd. 23rd will go to Mitch Rollo, and 24th will belong to Jamie Moore. So 3 retirees, 21 machines still remain in action, as it is 15 of them on the lead lap right now. However, Adam Benefield, the 85 machine, is closing in and is about to put that 77 of Sherry Ann Mills down a lap. The 77 goes to the apron, lets the race leaders go on by, and you have to expect that she's going to come down for her stop right now. Yes, she does. So Sherry Ann Mills will pit from P15. She does go 1 lap down before she hits pit road, so she may lose 2 of them. She'll probably go down 2 laps here as everything cycles through.
Yeah, and Sherry Ann making her way down pit road. Most people stay out on the track, though, and Terrell was the fastest car on the track for a little while, but the number 85 of Benefield, as these tires have continued falling off, making his way through the lap traffic a little bit quicker, and has a 2.5 seconds on EJ O'Rourke. Actually, the number 10 of O'Rourke heading down pit road right now, so that's our 2nd place runner. Bobby Terrell will stay out, as well as Rhett McBride, top 3 onto the track. Kyle Taraska will stay out, as he restarted this race about 30-40 laps ago from about 20th, currently up to 4th. We'll have to see where he ends up after pit stops cycle through. But some of these guys not wanting to come too early.
Oh, he overshot the stall there. Sorry, EJ O'Rourke. And, I mean, that wasn't even close. The 10 overshot it by about half a car length. He had to back it in. And because this is green flag pit stops, that's going to hurt him a little bit when he cycles back out.
Oh, absolutely. You can't afford to make a mistake like that. On a caution alone, you'll lose a couple of positions. And when it happens during green flag, every second counts. and those seconds are not easy to make up on the track.
Well, Rhett McBride, race leader, as he sits with now a 7-second gap to him and the second-place machine of Benefiel on back, as everybody is now cycling through. Joe Hassert, Harvey, including some of the drivers that are on pit road. But Rhett McBride in trouble, as Rhett McBride, the number 2 machine, looks like he tried to come down pit road and wiggled up the hill, didn't get it slowed down in time. He's going to have to go around one more time, and that's going to cost him a ton of time.
Yeah, entering pit road, you try to get every, as we're working on getting the replay from his in-car, showing exactly his vantage point. The cars are just so tight. When you get on the binders and go on the brakes, it's just a lot of load on the front end. A lot of times you lock the front tires a little bit, the car will go up the track. This time the number 2 will come and make it down pit road, but as we look at the replay, he simply got on the brakes. Car did not do what he anticipated it to do, went up the track, and tried to stay with it, just tried to see what he could do, because he knew how much time he would lose if he had to get back going again and pit on the next lap. Was not able to do so. Just goes to show how difficult it is to get down pit road. These tires lose a lot of grip over the course of a run. You have to just basically anticipate it, not really knowing what's ahead, because most drivers don't really practice this.
So nearly all the drivers have now come down and cycled through, but that's going to make it the top 2 in the running order before this all started to cycle out. Having trouble on pit road. Rhett McBride's obviously been a lot more costly because he had that thing slowed down to 70 miles an hour, but was still past the pit road entrance, past that cone, so would have been penalized if he came in. So not only does that hurt him, but he could have easily been right in the middle of the racetrack, and he was lucky that he had a little bit of buffer for those cars behind him, because he was a good, 60, 70 miles an hour off pace in the middle of corner exit.
Yeah, absolutely. That puts you in a really precarious position, able to come out, no caution flag, no damage. And so no harm, no foul to that race car, but a lot of lost time for Rhett McBride, and he's going to lose a number of positions on the racetrack because of it. Shown currently in 9th. I think once the pit stop cycle through, he'll be showing in 8th. And so lost about 3 or 4 positions on that mistake, and that bumps up a few guys up in the running order, including Jonathan Cadell. That number 65 car, the Strutmasters.com Camaro. Leaders in the wall, Corbin Himstreet. That's actually...
the inside wall, too. Trouble for race leader Corbin Himstreet. And saying, whoa, that thing just turned dead right in the corner. He's saying it locked it up when he got on the brakes, much like we saw trouble with the 2 of McBride. That was a lot more violent. And he's going to go from leading the race. He's right now taking a tow back to pit road. That might be it for Corbin Himstreet, as he is not on the racetrack right now. And now Adam Benefiel cycles through to the lead, but I mean, we thought Rhett McBride had it bad. That thing just went straight up into the fence. And again, from P1 to maybe out of this race goes Corbin Himstreet.
Yeah, and he had some damage earlier in the event, and so he inherited the lead by virtue of not coming down pit road yet. And looking at it, I originally thought that he blew a tire, but his steering wheel actually goes straight and then turns to the right a little bit. So I'm not sure if he had some kind of issue with his game or if he in fact blew a tire, but he just got down there into the center of 3 and 4. Wheel goes straight, he goes up into the wall, then he cuts it left, gets out of the way, parks the car. So not exactly sure what happened, but that's a bad situation, getting worse. Things just seem to compound.
Yeah, it definitely does have the look of like a right front tire going down there in the middle of the corner. But the car did make a little bit of a strange sound, the engine, before that wheel did end up straightening out, and then again he bounced back off of the inside wall and has taken a tow to pit road. He's not currently on pit road, so for all intents and purposes, he's out of this race. He's going to finish back right now in 19th position. Brian Harvey, Nathan Little would cycle through and pass him, so if he can't get back out there, he's going to have to walk away with a 21st place result after leading this race. So meanwhile, everything has cycled through, and again with our top 2 on a racetrack having problems, Adam Benefiel is going to go back to the point, the 85 machine.
Yeah, and after that pit stop sequence, he's got over 3 seconds on the number 10 of E.J. O'Rourke. Bobby Terrell holding steady at about 4 seconds out of the lead, remains in 3rd position. And Eric Arnold, he's short pit, and I think it paid off, at least as of right now. Eric Arnold's in 4th, only half a second off of Bobby Terrell, but he's worn off a little more of his tires than the cars around him, so he's fading a little bit, but quite a distance. He's got 5 seconds on 5th, and so that short pitting seemed to really work out for that 31 of Arnold's.
So now we get a moment here in this middle section of the race where we get to see a long green flag stretch. Obviously, green flag pit stops included in that, so a lot more strategy is going to have to go into play. When it is all said and done, there are 13 machines left on the lead lap. Last car on the lead lap is the number 8 Chevrolet Impala of Cody Gibson. He is 27 seconds back, which means that Adam Benefield is only about 3 seconds behind him as far as trying to get him 1 lap down. So the machines that have been put a lap down include Keith Bouchard, Ronnie Potts, Sherry Ann Mills, and Joe Hazard are the 4 cars that find themselves trapped 1 lap off with the leaders.
Yeah, with 13 on the lead lap, Kyle Taraska, after that pit stop sequence, he restarted this race about 30 laps in from 20th or so, and Taraska up to position number 9. However, 16 seconds behind the lead. So Taraska in a battle right now. Got a couple of cars there. 7th Scott Stenzel in the 06, 8th number 2 of Red McBride, and then Taraska all together in 7th, 8th, and 9th. But those guys looking for a caution. But I tell you what, we had the caution earlier on, and it's been looking green. And after a cautionless race at Talladega, that's another good one here this evening.
We did have 2 yellows earlier on in the race, but you definitely have to give credit where credit is due, and the fact that these guys have been able to put on a show and have a lot of green flag laps to this point. Again, tonight, race number 2, race 1, going caution-free at Talladega, so the wild card race was not a wild card at all, as that came down to strategy, and now this race has the looks that if it can stay green, it is going to come down to strategy, like Adam Benefield pulling the short pit to get out to the number 1 position. It's going to once again come down to strategy. It would be 2 weeks in a row, if this does stay green, that would dictate how this would all cycle through and what the finishing order would be. But there is still a long way to go until we can call that for sure, because it is very easy to get down to that apron there. We're seeing guys ride the apron. They get their left side tires right down into that white paint, including race leader Benefield. But some of the guys towards the back of the pack with some damage are getting pretty loose coming off a corner exit. Turns 2 and turns 4 have not been kind to them tonight, so they still have to tiptoe their way through this thing. This thing is not guaranteed to go green all the way. You don't want to call it before it's to that point, but next time by the stripe, Benefield is going to be closing in. That will be 40 laps to go.
Yeah, and certainly if you're that number 85 driver out of Benefield, you want to see it go green all the way. The rest of these guys, not so much, except for maybe a few of them. But you have to plan for both as a driver. You know, as much as you don't want to see a yellow, you have to be ready. You have to keep in your mind, what do you do if the caution does fall right now? A lot of these guys will be going for 4 tires, maybe a few wave arounds, but you have to be ready for anything. And certainly EJ doing what he can after missing his pit stall and sliding on through, having to back up, lost 2 or 2.5, 3 seconds on that alone. So EJ right now running laps a little bit faster than the leader. Might have pit a couple laps after him as well. But EJ just 3 seconds is hard to come back from. In fact, he might find himself racing with Terrell for the 2nd place position before long.
So everybody continues to cycle through a little bit of battling that includes some lead lap cars. Kyle Taraska bumper to bumper with Scott Stenzel. Those 2 machines are teammates. They ride 7th and 8th. Right in front of them is Steve Ritter, the Amsoil 16, who pitted significantly earlier than the rest of the leaders, is starting to slow up at the outside lane, and Stenzel wants it. He goes to the inside. Taraska gives him a bump down the back. It is going to be door-to-door for position number 6 in turns 3 and 4. Stenzel through and cleared the 80 to Taraska, wants to go with him, and has such a big run, he's going to try to take 2 spots at the same time to the inside on Stenzel as well, and he'll have the bottom into quarter number 1. Can he clear that 06 on the bottom lane? right there. You can see the 88's able to pick up the gas much quicker than those guys behind him, and Kyle Taraska gonna go from position number 8 and past Stenzel. He'll take P6 away in that exchange, and obviously Stenzel gonna get a spot as well. Steve Ritter, the big loser in that, he continues to drop back because here comes Rhett McBride, the GT Omega Chevrolet McBride through and clear. So Steve Ritter, short pitting, maybe not working out as well for him as it has for our race leader because he's dropped to 9th.
Yeah, certainly doesn't feel like it's working out right now, but in the big picture, oh, there's a little contact in front of them. The 77 Chariot Mills gets into the wall. That's not going to be a caution. They're going straight. Just a little bit of a misjudgment there.
Oh, it was the 88.
The 88 of Taraska got into the 77 of Chariot Mills coming out of 2.
Yeah, Kyle Taraska tried to make that move, get up through and clear, and in doing so just slides up. That thing goes up the hill and kind of cross-checks that number 77 forward into the fence. Chariot Mills coming over the radio and letting him know that she did give him room. Kyle Trask claiming responsibility for the incident, but I mean, that close, and that 88 machine could have easily ended up sideways and in the fence. He keeps it going, but now he has lost his momentum. These cars, again, dependent on momentum. The 2 of Rhett McBride has made a pass out of bottom, and now his teammate going to take another crack at him. That's Scott Stenzel to the bottom. That's going to be the battle for position number 7. Taraska shuts the door down the front.
Yeah, with that right there. Right now, Kyle is doing what he was trying to avoid when he got into the 77. That's battle. He was trying to get away, and he got a little bit of apron working his way through 1 and 2, and he was just banking on clearing that lapped car of Mills on exit. And he apologized directly after as we ride on board with Taraska, looking at that number 2 McBride. McBride in a bit of a rhythm right now, starting to put some distance on himself and that number 88 Camaro. But Taraska just looking to clear as Ritter goes back to pit road once again after quite a short pit, and he's looking to do possibly the same strategy right now, about a little more than 30 laps to go. And so Steve Ritter going to make it from here to the end, but I think most of these guys can make it to the end because they all pit with about 52 to go. But Taraska right there, he was, he's come from 22nd. He's trying to get as much as he can, and that just goes to show you when you commit to these corners, whatever happens in the center of the corner, sometimes it can really just put you in a box on exit. That car, when it starts heading up the hill, it's gone. There's really no repairing it at that point.
Chariot Mills down pit road and back off. Again, you mentioned a couple of the names that were down for service. Eric Arnold was one of them. He has made his way back up to the racetrack. You talk about committing to the corner. You can't back up the corner so much that you can really put it where you want to. You got to throw that thing down there into the corner, and when you get off the gas, when you pick that throttle back up, you don't really have a lot of control, because once you've done up to that point is going to dictate what your machine's going to do off. So you experience a lap car. Obviously, you said that he was going to try to clear that 77, slide up in front of her off the corner. Didn't get the run, didn't get the speed that he was looking for. Maybe getting catching the apron impeded his progress a little bit. But you can't just turn that wheel more to the left and stay off her, because you're committed, you're giving it that much throttle. The car's going out to the fence whether you like it or not at that point.
Oh, absolutely. That's being on the limit of the tires, and a lot of times when people get in that position and they realize that they're about to slide up into someone, it kind of makes the situation worse, because they'll put in more wheel into it, they'll get on the brakes, and it'll just set the nose even quicker up the track. And it's one of those things where it almost seems counterintuitive, but a little bit more wheel in the corner often just brings you up the track quicker.
So 10 cars remain on the lead lap right now. Last car on the lead lap is the 48 of Kevin Linden. Behind him is the 67 machine of Brian Harvey. Brian Harvey sits 2 laps down, so that is not going to be a battle for position. Kyle Taraska, Scott Stenzel, those 2 teammates continue to ride fairly close together. I feel like the closest battle on the lead lap is going to be for second. Bobby Terrell with the Muscle Milk Chevrolet, as he always does here with RSR, is known as Here Comes Bobby, and that's because that number 14 machine can sneak up into the picture here late in these races, come up and try to steal the show and walk away with a couple of trips to victory lane. That's just the fashion that Bobby Terrell tends to do these things, and he qualified 8th, so a solid qualifying effort for Terrell. He was 5th fastest in a practice session, but he is beginning to close in now on E.J. O'Rourke. Last time by, Terrell running a 30.62, O'Rourke with a 6.3, so those 2 machines pretty evenly matched as they run right now, but Terrell and O'Rourke are the closest out of the top 10 as we go side by side on board with those drivers.
Yeah, you can kind of, with these two onboards, really compare their difference in driving styles. Terrell a little bit more methodical. I think EJ's pushing that car a little bit harder than Bobby is right now. Bobby enters turn 1 with a wider arc, gets it closer to that white line on the bottom. As you see on the exit, EJ a little bit tighter. We're going to stay with them for about 2 laps here. As you could, it's really a good. It's a good, opportunity to compare their two lines. Bobby with a much wider arc into turn 3 as well, and you see he's lower off the corner, but EJ been pretty smooth as well.
So we have closed in now as Benefield, next time by the start-finish line, will take 25 laps to go, and we continue to run under the green flag conditions, get a step away and take one last commercial break, and when we come back, we'll race it out to the checkered flag. It is Adam Benefield by 3.3 seconds. Do we stay green or do we see a yellow that makes it a late race shootout? Stay tuned to find out. More from the Atlanta Motor Speedway on the other side.
Trucking has always been a part of me. It started years ago when my dad and granddad were hauling vegetables to market in Liverpool. The family immigrated to Canada in the late 60s and settled near Alliston, Ontario. I bought my first truck in 1982 and Mercer Trucking was born. Today, Mercer Trucking has over 50 trucks and terminals in Toronto and Los Angeles. Our storage facilities at both terminals can handle any size of distribution needs throughout North America. We service the continental U.S., including Hawaii and Alaska. We run over 120,000 miles per month and some of the best equipment on the road today. We specialize in less than truckload shipments, show freight, we do rush team service deliveries, and haul your refrigerated or heated product. Our regular team service from Canada to California is second to none, and our staff and drivers are among the best in the business. I'm proud of our people and what they can achieve. Trucking is in my blood, it's my livelihood, and it's what I do best.
And back live here again at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. I'm Basoko Harrison Wildlitz in the LSRTV broadcast booth as we close in now on 19 laps to go for race leader Adam Benefield, who through green flag pit stops has opened up a 3.8 second gap and extending it lap by lap over EJ O'Rourke, Bobby Terrell, and company. As we get into these final few laps, it is Benefield, and it's all in his control at this point, unless, again, we do see a caution fly late with no green-white checkers in the iRacing system. If we get anywhere under 5 or 4 laps to go, a caution would effectively end the race. We would finish under yellow flag conditions. So for the next 10 laps or so, Benefield still has to hold his breath and hope that this thing stays clean and green.
Yeah, and for a little while there, for a little while there, that battle for second started heating up. Bobby Terrell was getting pretty close to that number 10 of E.J. O'Rourke, but at a couple of laps ago, coming out of turn number 2, Bobby, trying to get all that he could, came up out of turn number 2 with a lot of steam and was headed towards that outside wall, had to back out of it, ended up with a lap time that was about 4/10 off the pace, so that's 4/10 that he didn't want to give up, and it puts him at a bit of a disadvantage here as we're coming up on 15 to go. Really the only two in the top 5 having a real chance at each other. Jonathan Cadell got up to position number 4, Rhett McBride back to 5th, and so Cadell has had a really quiet race where he's just methodically worked his way forward in that 65 car, and without the aid of too many cautions, just those 2 earlier on, as we were mentioning, and Cadell qualified in 9th, kind of ran there first and just slowly worked his way forward, sort of like a vintage Riz. We saw him in the Full Throttle Cup Series run so well last year. And so, as you pointed out, Benefield just hoping we stay green from here on out.
Yeah, now he's extended that, so it's 4.1 seconds to the good. And the reason Bobby Terrell lost all that time was, you said, they were starting to heat up that battle. That was the closest battle between cars on the lead lap at the point. And Terrell started to close in on him, and he started to get real brave. When you get close, you see that car in front of you, you try to give it a little bit more. Overdrove corner number 2, had to get way out of it, was able to keep it out of the fence, but lost all that time. He's closed it back into 7/10 of a second, so you have to think Terrell may be slightly faster than E.J. O'Rourke. Last time Terrell ran a 30.83, and it was an 8.8 for E.J. O'Rourke, so still fairly evenly matched, but you have to think that Terrell running a little bit stronger just needs to find some consistency, and he may be able to get that. However, battle for 4th place in the works. Rhett McBride, the number 2 machine, is flying in position number 5. He wants 4th from Jonathan Cadell, who you just mentioned. McBride started this race in 7th, and he's there. He's closed it in. It's half a car length, and that's going to be a battle here for position number 4 at the stripe. It'll be 13 to go for these guys.
Yeah, on board with McBride as he works his way up to the back bumper of Cadell. Just a real good look at that Chevrolet Camaro. He works the outside. McBride trying to do all he can to get that nose on the outside of Jonathan Cadell, but Cadell able to clear him and drift back up in front of him. And I like that strategy, because if you get along outside of someone, you can kind of hold them down, just pull them off the corner and retain that spot. Might be easier to pass on the outside than the inside right now, especially with so many laps on these tires. But McBride this time looks underneath the 65 of Cadell as they're side by side here entering turn number 1. Cadell actually sees that McBride's quite a bit faster, backs out, and cooler heads prevail on that one. I guess not wanting to use up their stuff right now, not wanting to tarnish each other's runs or possibly make a mistake, lose their top 5 positioning. And so Cadell back to position number 5, Rhett McBride up to 4th.
Yeah, hand out the window from the number 65 strutmasters.com Chevrolet of Cadell. Rhett McBride goes through and clear. He'll take position number 4 that time by the stripe. Not only that, but Cadell really doesn't want to waste his time trying to battle with Rhett McBride, because just 1 second behind him is the 88 of Kyle Tarasco, who I'm sure would love a top 5 finish in his debut to the series, as he sits actually 3 seconds back as that scoring cycles through. But Jonathan Cadell, again, obviously his car's starting to fade towards the latter stages of this run. Doesn't want to use up his equipment anymore and really not force the issue. And the 2 of Rhett McBride clearly faster. You can see that, as since he has gotten through, has been able to pull about a couple car lengths in front of him for that number 4 spot. So O'Rourke and Terrell, that battle continues to kind of balance out. It's gone to 6/10 of a second, and now scoring cycles through back to 7. So O'Rourke and Terrell fairly evenly matched, running in the 39.3s, but in the .8s, it's still Adam Benefield continuing to put time on second on back. The 85 showing no signs of taking it easy here. Still the fastest car on the track up front.
Yeah, Benefiel, I tell you, he couldn't have scripted this better at all. As nearly 5 seconds on the field right now, and those the second and third place runners in O'Rourke and Terrell really the only people within 19 seconds of the leader. So pretty incredible as we're at 7.5 laps to go. Next time by 7 to go is Benefiel letting the number 16 of Steve Ritter on by as it's at 85. I think he's going to work. He's going to work his car about as hard as he can to get to that 5 to go, and then it could be on full back-off mode at that point. But he's got so much room to work with that he's just playing it as smart as he possibly can.
And Benefiel gets right up to the back bumper of the number 16 of Steve Ritter, who is the last car 1 lap down. If the 16 were to lose his lap, he would go 2 down and join Cody Gibson in that category, the number 8 of Cody Gibson, 15th. The only car 2 laps down. Again, only 9 machines remain on the lead lap. The last car on the lead lap is Scott Stenzel, and Stenzel's about to lose his lap because look at that 85 of Benefiel fly off the corner. However, he does have side-by-side in front of him. This is going to hold him up for just a moment. He does have a 4.6 second buffer, so he is able to kind of tiptoe through this and not kind of force the issue. He goes to the bottom through and now clear. So 8 machines on the lead lap as Scott Stenzel falls victim. He'll now be the first car 1 lap down, but the 85 of Benefiel trying to trace down the 16. No real rush in doing so as that's a lap car. So Benefiel has the 5 to go mark. So give him 1 more lap and the next flag will end this. And at that point, it would be his race to lose in the number 1 position.
Yeah, and Steve Ritter with fresher tires than the leader, which is why we see him pull away just a little bit on most of these corners. It's kind of breaking even right now as Bobby Terrell has been closing in on E.J. O'Rourke right now. It's just a little bit less than half a second, just over 0.4. And so it might be running out of time as they come to the line this time by. It'll be 4 laps to go, so a caution flag would effectively end this race, and Terrell knows that he's running out of time. He's pushing his car as hard as he possibly can, trying to get to EJ. Last time by, separation about 1/10 of a second. 30.98 for Bobby Terrell and 31.08 for O'Rourke.
So it was Steve Ritter who went to victory lane last week at Talladega Super Speedway. He rides in position number 14. Again, the last car on the lead lap that we have been talking about, having a little bit fresher tires coming off of another trip to pit road, sits right now in front of our race leader on the racetrack. That is not for position. The car that fell second to him last week after not leading any laps but coming up only 3/100ths short was the 85 of Adam Benefiel. Benefiel sitting right now in prime position to take this to victory lane, and going P1 and P2 to start off the season would not be bad at all. Adam Benefiel this time by the start-finish line. 2 more circuits to go till that checkered flag.
Yeah, and you don't feel any better than this as a driver. To be in Adam Benefiel's position, you got 5 seconds on the field, but the battle is heating up for position number 2, E.J. O'Rourke. That gap has closed, and now E.J.'s got to get into defensive mode as Terrell is going to do all he can, but he's only got a lap and a half to work with. But that's where the battle is on the track. No battle up front. 5 seconds to these guys as they're coming around to take the white flag. You see Terrell just getting a good run off the corner, a little bit more tire with that 14 car than the 10. I think he's done a really good job managing his stuff over the course of this race, but he's only got 2 more sets of corners.
He gets to the bumper, and it is going to be 1 car length. That is the battle for second, but by 4.8 seconds to the good. Adam Benefiel all by himself now into corner number 3 and 4 for the final time at 85 machine after qualifying on the outside of the front row. Cycles at a corner number 4. Race number 2, the Atlanta Motor Speedway, goes to Adam Benefiel across the stripe. Battle for second is going to end up at the 10 machine of E.J. O'Rourke in the outside wall. After the 14 went to the bottom, the 10 tried to pinch him and ended up getting put out in the fence. So O'Rourke is going to hobble home in third, Terrell second, but again, a dominating performance by Adam Benefiel, and has not finished lower than the number 2 position in these opening 2 races.
Yeah, what a dominant showing as we're about to look at the replay. A dominant showing for Benefiel, that is, as we look at the replay for what transpired between Terrell and O'Rourke. And that was a situation where EJ just got really tight out of turn number 2. Terrell saw his opportunity, went to the inside. He held EJ extremely high entering turn number 3. or I guess extremely, I could use that loosely. He used an arc to get to the bottom there, and as EJ tried to pinch him in return to try to capitalize and try to knock some of that momentum off of Terrell's number 14 car, it wasn't meant to be. Is just basically tags Terrell, sends him up the track a little bit, sends EJ into the wall. But hey, those guys could get away with that. A little sheet metal doesn't hurt. They hold on to their positions of second and third.
So it is going to be Adam Benefield to victory lane. We're going to step away and take our final commercial break. When we come back, and try to talk to the top 3 finishers and get you set for race number 3, which will be coming up in 1 week's time, as we get set to continue on with the RSR Asphalt Assault B-Series season, again presented by InsideSimRacing and Derek Spear Designs. Going to step away for a moment. When we come back, the post-race show on LSRTV.
Trucking has always been a part of me. It started years ago when my dad and granddad were hauling vegetables to market in Liverpool. The family immigrated to Canada in the late 60s and settled near Alliston, Ontario. I bought my first truck in 1982 and Mercer Trucking was born. Today, Mercer Trucking has over 50 trucks in terminals in Toronto and Los Angeles. Our storage facilities at both terminals can handle any size of distribution needs throughout North America. We service the continental U.S., including Hawaii and Alaska. We run over 120,000 miles per month and some of the best equipment on the road today. We specialize in less than truckload shipments, show freight, we do rush team service deliveries, and haul your refrigerated or heated product. Our regular team service from Canada to California is second to none, and our staff and drivers are among the best in the business. I'm proud of our people and what they can achieve. Trucking is in my blood, it's my livelihood, and it's what I do best.
Back live at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, where after 130 laps, Adam Benefield is going to go to victory lane. Going to run you through the full finishing order presented by InsideSimRacing TV. Adam Benefield going to walk away in first place. Bobby Terrell second. EJ O'Rourke in third, who we will talk to momentarily. Rhett McBride going to walk away with the fourth place result. Jonathan Cadell fifth. Kyle Tarasca, his first start on the season, comes one position short of a top 5 in sixth. Dan Murray, 7th. Scott Simley rounds out the lead lap cars in 8th. Kevin Linden going to walk away with a 9th place result. And Scott Stenzel rounding out the top 10.
Eric Arnold came home in 11th in his number 31 ride. 12th was the number 6 of Ronnie Potts. Steve Ritter came home in 13th after that incident out of turn number 4. Never caught that caution. Finishing 14th was the number 58 of Keith Bouchard, followed by Cody Gibson. 16th was Brian Harvey, followed by Joe Hassert. Dwayne Vincent got 18th. Sherry Ann Mills took her number 77 car home in the 19th position, and Nathan Little rounded out the top 20.
Corbin Himstreet would walk away with a 21st place result. All cars from this on back were out of the race, did not make it the distance. Kevin Gosser 22nd, Mitch Rollo 23rd, and Jamie Moore would finish 129 laps down after being caught up in the opening lap incident. He'll walk away with a 24th and at the back of the place result. So now down on pit road, we have Harrison Weiland. You've caught up with our third place finisher. That's going to be EJ O'Rourke.
Yeah, and EJ, down here with EJ O'Rourke, who won the pole and ran up front all race, able to take home that third place finish. But EJ coming into this event as a substitute for the number for John Abbott, who usually drives the number 10. What goals did you have coming into this race?
Well, to be honest with you, Harry, John messaged me about a half hour or so before the race and said, "Hey man, I need a sub." So I said, "Okay," and I didn't even know what track we're racing until I got the password. So just had a lot of fun out there, racing in Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Yeah, and certainly looked good throughout the long run. Adam Benefield appeared to be kind of in his own zip code right at the end. Watching his line and watching what he was doing, could you tell where he was getting his speed from?
He was just, it seemed like to me he was rolling the center, getting up off the corner better than I was. I hung with him for the first half of that run, or the first 50 laps or whatever, but he pulled me right at the end of that long run we had, or the first field run. I tried short pitting to see if I can get a little bit of an advantage with the fast pit stop and fresh tires, but I slipped through my box and killed all hope I had, so that was that for me.
And looking into the rest of the schedule, do you have any plans to run any more with RSR, or do you think this was just a bit of a one-off?
It was probably a one-off because I have class on Tuesday nights till usually 9 o'clock, but tonight was my first day, so the class was cut short, so I was able to get home early and run the race. But we'll see. Hopefully I got to run the Icebreaker Winter Series with Real Sim Racing here later on in the winter.
Oh yeah, we definitely hope to see you, and certainly I'm sure John Abbott's got to be happy with a third place finish for that 10 car. I'm sure he's thrilled with the job you did, and who would you like to thank? Who made it happen for you tonight?
Well, yeah, it was great to get the pole, my first pole in Real Sim Racing. Who I got to thank Derek Spear Designs, LSRTV as always, InsideSimRacing, and my personal sponsors, Gary Mercer Trucking.
And that Gary Mercer Trucking Ford Mustang, almost said Fusion, that would have been awkward. Coming home in the third position, as I believe Evan has caught up with our second place finisher.
We're down on pit road with Bobby Terrell, driver of the number 14 Muscle Milk Chevrolet. Here comes Bobby is his nickname because he likes to close it in and make it interesting at the end. Bobby, you're able to walk away with a second place result. Before we get to the rest of the race, walk us through that white flag lap there and that battle down into 3 and 4.
Well, I mean, I had caught up to EJ once before and overshot one of my corners, so then I had to, gradually reel him back in again, and I seen he was getting tight too, or he was losing some grip, and I just made a run for him and finally got to him and got a run on him on that back straightaway, and then I think we were kind of door to door, and he said he kind of pinched me off a little bit, but we just battled out to the end. It was good. It was fun.
Now walk us through your race, a second place result. After qualifying in the number 8 spot, had the 5th fastest machine in practice, but tonight's race only having 2 cautions. So in the first 2 races, we've only seen 2 yellow flags been thrown. I mean, what did that force you guys to do? Obviously, you had to make green flag pit stops. How were you able to cycle that through and be able to be one of only 8 cars to remain on the lead lap and actually be in contention for one of those top spots?
Well, I was hoping that it would go green, because I was saving my stuff, and I was just trying to take it easy and take my time. Like I said, hoping it would go green, and I just finally worked my way up through the pack, and not sure if I had anything for Adam or not. I would have liked to got up there and run with him a little bit and played with him a little bit, but I just track position meant so much, and I was in the back, so I had to work my way up, and I lost time. There was a wreck in front of me and lost a little time there, but I'm happy with my finish. I mean, sure, I would have rather won, but there's always next week.
Speaking on next week, last week, you were able to walk away with the 5th place result, tonight 2nd, so 2 straight back-to-back top 5 finishes. Rolling into next week now, it's going to be race number 3 at Richmond, under the lights, in 1 week's time on LSRTV. As always, how confident are you moving into that one to maybe keep this streak going and maybe try to break through and get that 14 machine down to victory lane?
Well, that's one of my favorite tracks. So, you know, hopefully we can bring this Muscle Milk Chevy home in first place. That's the goal anyway.
Copy that. Well, before we let you step away, sponsors and shout-outs, who makes it happen for you with the number 14 crew?
Well, of course, Muscle Milk. Couldn't do it without those guys. InsideSimRacing, Derek Spear Designs, RSR for putting this on, and you guys up in the booth for the job y'all do, and LSRTV.
And if you will, congratulations on the top 2 finish. You say you like Richmond. We'll be looking for that 14 machine towards the front next week.
All right, thank you.
That is Bobby Terrell. He's able to walk away again, back-to-back top 5 results as he goes in a number 2 position tonight. But now down at Victory Lane, Harrison Wineless, you've caught up with the driver of the 85 machine. He'll go second, and now first tonight, it's Adam Benefiel.
Yeah, and Adam Benefiel starting out the season with a second-place finish at Talladega, following that up with a win here tonight at Atlanta. And Adam, how great does that feel to start off the season so strong here in just a 10-race series?
It feels good. You know, I hate to see it, but, you know, it's good for us that, you know, like Ritter and Dan, some really close friends of mine, had a bad night. It sucks in that case, but helps us in the championship. But it feels good starting off this strong.
And certainly in a race like that, I know as a driver, you're constantly, when you're in a long green flag run like that, you're constantly thinking, you know, when is this caution going to fall? Is it ever going to happen? Just how much was that on your mind?
I was actually opposite. I was praying that cautions wouldn't come out. Everybody was real close when the tires were, you know, new, and everybody could, you know, stay right there with each other. The most important thing was getting all you can when the tires were good, because it was like almost impossible to pass somebody down low. So once we got the lead and on the long run, man, just I felt good about long run speed, and it showed. And I was praying that we wouldn't have a caution, because I didn't want to stack it back up and have to do it all over again.
Yeah, that long run speed definitely showed. And what do you think you were doing a lot better than everyone else to keep that long run speed, to keep that right front tire cool enough?
With these cars, there's not as much horsepower as the Cup cars, and I've been racing Cup cars all week with NIS there, and it's you just got to back your corner up and make the corner as straight as possible. And I was giving up a little in 1 and 2, but I would give up like 2 to 3 tenths of a second in 1 and 2, but I gained almost half a second in just 3 and 4. You know, 3 and 4 was my sweet spot, running that Kevin Harvick line down there, dragging the apron. But you know, it's all about your line and where you let off at and where you get back on the gas, and, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah, and Atlanta, a very different track from Talladega. Next week, a very different track from Atlanta and Richmond. And so, how do you like Richmond? How do you feel about next week's prospects?
Richmond's going to be another one. You know, all about tires. You're going to have to, you know, take care of them, and it won't be as difficult to pass people there. There's really not much of a high line, but you know, it's going to be more about being consistent and not burning the right front off of it.
And certainly burning the right front off of it, not something you did tonight. Really impressive, dominant win. And who makes it happen for that 85 bunch? Who would you like to thank?
First off, I hope he's still watching, but the main man, Roll Speed Dynamics, Patrick Gillum, and he lets me put the name on the car, and you know, my wife for letting me come back here and do this, and I gotta give a shout out to one of my karting friends, Chance Lachele, down in Louisiana. He tuned in and watched tonight, and also, you know, LSRTV, Derek Spears Designs for, you know, helping sponsoring this series, and also InsideSimRacing for them helping out sponsoring. And, you know, John Abbott, he's got a killer series going on here and giving out some great prizes, and you know, I love it over here.
It's our winner, Adam Benefiel. Another strong showing, our points leader. And Evan, just another great race. Another race with a lot of green flag laps.
Yeah, when the drivers say they feel like the walls are closing in on them, they're not lying, because we got things kicked off at the 2.66 mile Talladega Super Speedway. Tonight, the 1.54 mile Atlanta Motor Speedway. Next week, we go to Richmond. We've only had 2 yellows in the opening 2 races. That's going to be short track racing under the lights. Harrison, your predictions moving forward, because that one's definitely going to be a barn burner.
Oh, hard to know because any of these drivers can really come out of the gate at Richmond swinging. But I like the odds with Bobby Terrell because we saw him get a top 5 last week at what could have been a wild card race, and we saw him improve on that to finish second tonight. And he had a lot of long run speed. And in Richmond, I think you could count on a few more yellows, maybe a few tempers. But in fact, if this league's any indication, you really can't count on those cautions. I expect a lot of green flag runs, maybe after a few early cautions, and look for Terrell to just be really strong.
There is $327 worth of prizes up for grabs once these 10 races are complete. We're 1/5 of the way through the season, and so far, it's been nearly all Adam Benefiel, as tonight he finally gets that 85 in victory lane. Going to go P2 and P1 in the opening 2 races. That's going to wrap it up for tonight's race. Again, after 130 laps, 2 cautions early on, but a long green flag stint saw the field cycle out, and only 8 machines are able to finish on the lead lap. Benefiel, Terrell, and O'Rourke are top 3 finishers. We spoke to them all, and a lot of those guys looking forward to next week's race at Richmond. Same place, same time on LSRTV. More Real Sim Racing on the way. Monday night, the Cup side of things is going to be at Richmond as well for the final race on their regular season before they get set for a 10-week chase for their championship. As well, if you're interested in running with RSR, they also have a Friday night, a Midnight Thunder series with the Chevy truck, so just check out Real Sim Racing. I'm sure that they would love to have you come over, and again, a great group of guys to race with. But that's going to do it for tonight. Again, Inside Sim Racing TV helping us put on this show, ISRTV.com or InsideSimRacing.tv. Also, Derek Spear Designs coming on board again for this season. Check them out, their button boxes and more, DerekSpearDesigns.com. On behalf of, as always, Laura Lawson from LSRTV down there in the infield somewhere. She's pushing all those buttons into production holler and getting us on air. Harrison Miles, thank you for joining me once again up here in the broadcast booth this evening. Again, my name is Evan Poselko, and that wraps it up from the Atlanta Motor Speedway as Adam Benefiel continues, and he's starting off with the right foot pointed forward. He goes to victory lane tonight as we get set. Next time we will see everybody again 1 week's time from the Richmond International Raceway. Until then, we'll see you next time.